This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and Three Counts.
Cover! We got a new world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and Three Counts is the podcast, baby! It's the real deal, baby!
Knockouts and Three Counts starts now.
Ooh, what up, though, everybody? It's a Thursday. You know what time it is. It's Knockouts and Three Counts, and we told you we had a great guest. We were making friends down there in Texas, Pele Pro Wrestling. I mean, apparently the bachelor party wasn't Corey's friend. As you can see, he's not with us this week. But we've got none other than Mike Bennett with us. How you doing, brother man?
I'm alive. I'm well. Kids are asleep, so maybe I can sleep soon. I'm good. Life is good. Can't complain.
Hey, man, and I know you're in Illinois, so I mean the weather you guys got has got to be close to what we're getting. At least it's not cold anymore, man.
Oh, thank God. Thank God. Last time I think I saw you, I think we were in
it was bad. Yes, and it was the snow too, and we got caught in snow in Texas. I made the last flight before they cut them.
Yeah, we got out. We drove out just in time, but then we drove into Oklahoma City, which they were getting hammered too. So we did hit a little snow, but we missed the power outages, which was real good.
Hey, man, that's always a good thing because it's like it was crazy. So for me, where we were at, like it looked to me being from Michigan, it's like I'm like, this is just a dusting. Like, wait a minute, like what's going on? And then like they're telling me they're like they don't even have like salt trucks or nothing. And then by the time I got on the plane, I literally sat on the plane for 2 hours before it took off. And then when we did take off, like I found out like as I left, they got hit with like 6 inches. I'm like, damn. Like, I'm glad I got out when I did because I'm hearing about people's pipes cracking and it was a hell of a time.
That was the thing, man. Like we hit some snow in Oklahoma City and it was bad, but coming from New England and coming from Boston, I was like, we still would have gone to work the next day. This would have just been cleaned up and we wouldn't have missed school. They just don't have anyone to clean it up because they don't get hit with it that often. So it's like a waste of money. So I'm going, oh, this is nothing, but the roads were awful.
Oh, you're not kidding at all, dude. Well, I mean, that's as good a place as any for us to start, man. I mean, we got to meet at Pele Pro Wrestling. So first of all, you know, like we were talking about before I hit the go live button, I mean, we got to have a really cool chat while we were there, and it was just cool to see you doing your thing, and you could tell how happy you were just to be out wrestling again. Like, you know, you talked about it in the recent documentary you did, you know, chronicling the whole thing, but you could see it evidently, not only from talking to you, but from what you were doing in the ring. So tell me a little bit about what it's meant to you so far, being back out on the indies, and as we'll get to in a little bit, Ring of Honor. Uh-oh, you froze. Uh-oh. Technical difficulties. Uh-oh, Mike froze. I think you froze up, brother man. I don't know if you can hear me. We're dealing with some technical difficulties, ladies and gents. You gotta love technology. Give me a second. I'm working on getting Mike back. Mike's just rejoining. Give me a second, ladies and gents. He'll be right back. All right, we got him back. Here he comes. All right.
I made it. Sorry, my wife.
the snow. How are you, Maria?
I'm just the technician. That's all.
She fixed it all.
Hey, it was that damn Texas snow got us again, even in 90-degree weather.
I live probably in the worst Wi-Fi area in the history of life. It goes on and off.
It's all of Illinois.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Illinois has the worst Wi-Fi.
Yeah, bad.
So if it makes you feel better, I mean, you know how close we are over here in Michigan because our Wi-Fi ain't shit over here either.
You feel me?
I mean, I totally understand, especially when you're trying to play like Xbox or some shit like that, and then the game will just like freeze out.
Television too, so we have Hulu, so every time the internet goes, I'm in the middle of something like, what the hell?
I hear you, dude, especially with pay-per-views and stuff like that. I was having a little bit of that with that Mayweather debacle that went down last weekend.
Oh, I'm sorry you watched that.
Hey, man, I feel like it's kind of part of the game because we cover MMA and boxing as well. So,
right.
Like I say, it's part of the game. We try to bring you the best over here at Knockouts and 3 Counts. But as I was saying before, the Texas snow decided to rear its head through 90-degree weather.
Right.
We were talking about when we got to meet over there at Pele Pro Wrestling. So what's it been like for you just being back out on the indies, man? Because you can really see the joy in your not only in your work, but just talking to you. It just seems like, you can really see how much fun you're having both there and even on TV with Ring of Honor, like we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's just like a collection of a lot of things kind of it's like a perfect storm. I'm happy to be creative again and have my own kind of input in my own career and where it goes. But it's more than that. Like after I got sober, I refound my love for wrestling. Like I refound what I enjoyed about it. So it's almost like I'm falling being able to wrestle the way I want. So it's like this whole perfect storm. And I'm glad people can tell that I'm having fun because I'm having the time of my life.
And that's the thing, man. That's been like the number one thing you've heard from everybody that's gotten released, and just like being able to get out and do their thing. You've heard a lot of that from Big Kaz, man. He's been out a lot longer than you guys, but like him coming back to Impact, you're coming back to Ring of Honor, Andrade showing up over there in AEW. It's cool to see people back out doing their thing. But one thing I wanted to talk about was I got to see the documentary that you did chronicling that. What was that like for you, and what spurred that, coming out of WWE?
I mean, the whole documentary was a lot of being in a pandemic and my wife kicking me out of the house. That's a little part of it. No, it was honestly, I needed something to do. I had started back off at Ring of Honor, but of course, like everyone, we were dealing with this pandemic. And a lot of places weren't open. Some were open. Some shows were doing like shows in front of no fans. Some places like Texas was doing shows in front of fans. So I was like, all right, well, if I'm safe and I get tested and do everything I need to, I had a whole plan with my wife on how we were going to handle it. I was like, all right, maybe I can hit these towns and just, I don't know, show people what it's like to kind of go from what you thought was your dream and now try to come back into this reality of where you're at now. And I wanted people to just kind of go on this journey. And I didn't want it to be fancy. I didn't want it to be a lot of reality crap now is so forced. And it's so like, even documentaries, you see it when you're like, all right, this isn't real anymore.
Yeah.
Or someone's exaggerating. I wanted this to just be real, just actual raw footage of like, hey, this is what I'm doing. And the guy I brought with me, Brandon Bishop, is really good at just kind of capturing that moment. He would just kind of get in my face and be like, all right, how do you feel right now? How do you feel? And early on in the documentary, I think it's like, I'm still getting used to it. But then after we progressed and went along, I think you started to see the real and raw emotions, which is what I really wanted people to see, because I don't know. I think it was a really an interesting story to tell people like it's okay to fail and to try to rebuild what you once had. And so that was kind of the story and the message I was trying to get through.
So first of all, I'm glad you brought that up, because I've seen a lot of your videos that you've posted on Instagram, like being so open with, your battles with sobriety. And first of all, as a fan and just as a man, dude, thank you for doing that, because it's cool to see somebody be so open with that kind of stuff. So, I mean, for somebody to be accountable and show that you can push through everything like that, it's cool to see. And I think, especially with all the shit we got going on in 2021, man, it's good to see somebody with a positive mindset with it.
Well, thank you. No, it's, man, like that stuff too. It helps me. It saves my life too. It holds me accountable. And I just got to the point too where we're in a time where holding yourself accountable is almost frowned upon. There's so many people that just don't admit when they're wrong, or accountability is looked at as a weakness. And for me, it changed my life. So for me, I was like, I don't understand all this negativity towards accountability, because it is the best and the best way to live your life. So I wanted to get that message out there. I wanted to tell people like, hey, we all screw up. We are literally all just screwed up individuals, just trying to do the best we can with what we got. And that's life. That is what life is. Just try not to screw up with what you've been given. And we all fall, we all slip up. But the fact that we can just kind of look ourselves in the mirror and say, hey, it's okay, own this mistake, and then move forward, move past it, and learn and grow from it. And that's what I did. So I just kind of want to tell people that it's okay to be that way.
See, and the reason why I resonate with that so much is it comes from a different place. I didn't deal with, sobriety issues or anything like that, but I have a lot of friends who did, A, and B, for me, life has always kind of had its own thing, as the listeners of our show know. I grew up with Crohn's disease and cerebral palsy, and I've been boxing since I was 13 years old. So as you can figure, I mean, that brings its own set of, its own set of challenges, man. You got to figure out how to work your way around things. You got to figure out, how to make it work. And every day for me, I've heard you talk about like depression and things like that. Crohn's, it's the number one, that's if you look up symptoms of Crohn's, because your gut health is directly related to your brain. So anytime you're having issues with your Crohn's, man, it's insane. So like I say, I can completely relate, such as why, like I say, me working with kids with disabilities, it's cool to see, people taking their platform and using it for that kind of stuff. Because even with the little platform that we have here, dude, if there's anything I could ever do to help a kid not deal with some of the things that I did, I'm all for it. But
oh yeah, it's one of those things that I look at as, I have the platform. I'm not going to use it for anything that's not productive and not helpful. If you have the platform, I think whatever, we're all different. We're all human, but you have an obligation too. I mean, I love the Spider-Man quote, with great power comes great responsibility. Like, that's the way it is. And I think that's how we have to look at it. You get that platform, or you get any sort of spotlight, you have that responsibility. And I think to kind of say like, oh, well, I'm not their parent, or to say something like, oh, well, I don't have to talk about it, or this and that. No, I think you owe it to other people to normalize certain things and to put it out there and to say, no, we need to talk about this, because if I don't, and I have this platform, other people are going to think it's not okay.
I completely agree with that 100%. But I know most of the people that are watching right now are probably looking to hear us talk about wrestling. So I took you on a little bit of a sidetrack, but that brings me to Ring of Honor, man. Obviously, as anybody who follows our show knows, you can't see my shirt right on, but I've got past guest of the show PCO shirt on right now, and was just listening to the other past guest of our show, Shane Taylor, doing his thing with Stevie Ray over there, man. So like I said, we're big fans of Ring of Honor over here. So tell me a little bit about what made the choice for not only you, but for Maria to choose to come home to Ring of Honor fresh out of WWE.
I think it was always, it was just a no-brainer. I mean, Ring of Honor has always been my home. It's where I started. It's where it's where I broke through. It's where I feel like I had my best success. It's just always been home. And so there were times when I was at WWE where I was constantly like, I need to go, and my thought process was, I need to go back to Ring of Honor. That was always my constant thought process. Even the first handful of times I asked for my release there in private, that was always my mindset. I was like, get out of here and get your ass to Ring of Honor. So I think when we got released, it was kind of, that's where I'm going, no matter what. I might reach out, I might try to talk to people, but as a dad and as someone who's like just got fired, you always reach out to everywhere that you go. Is like, best possibility, you got to figure out where you're going to go. And so to me, but in the back of my head, it was always Ring of Honor, Ring of Honor, Ring of Honor. And it just so happened that Ring of Honor was the first place that reached out to me too. So it was just one of those things where after that happens, you're like, okay, this is a no-brainer. And after that, I just decided that's where I'm going no matter what. And I know with Maria, when they approached her about being in charge and helping run the women's division and running the women's division, that was it. She was like, yes, that's where I want my career to go. That's the direction it's going. And so that's our home. If you ask her, she'll say the same thing. From the talent to the office to everything, that's home.
Hey, and I love to hear it because, you always kind of hear like the little scuttlebutt as far as Ring of Honor goes, just because they're on a smaller network and things of that nature. But I've said it multiple times on this show during the pandemic. Shane and I have talked about it both on the show and while we're sitting there playing Xbox. In my opinion, Ring of Honor's put on some of the best product you've seen during the pandemic, bar none. I mean, bringing back the Pure tournament, I was a big fan of what they did with that. I think what they've been doing with Josh Woods and Silas Young has been dope as well. And I mean, for you to come back and link right back up with Matt Taven like that, I mean, again, you speak about how Ring of Honor's like home for you, man. I mean, that's got to be like picking up right where you left off. So what was that like, number one? And then to be tangling with, somebody that was aligned with Taven for so long in Vinny.
Yeah, man, it was so. Having answered the previous question, every time I would think about going back to Ring of Honor, obviously my first phone call was always Taven. My text was always Taven. I always joke with everyone and say we've been planning this reunion for the last 5 years, because the minute I left Ring of Honor, I was always like, all right, I got to go back, because the Kingdom was always where I felt the most comfortable. That was always where it was the most at home, because it was my creation. It was our creation. It was something that was a pivotal part of Ring of Honor at the time, a pivotal part of the story with the Bullet Club. And we got to do some really cool things. We got to go to Japan and be in the World Tag League. And we got to go to the Seibu Dome and be at the end of the G1 Climax. And like, it was just all these things that came together that the Kingdom was just always really special to me. So again, once I got released from WWE, it was Taven. All right, when are we doing this? How are we doing this? And I know he was just as eager as I was. So it was just one of those things that once it came together, we knew it was going to happen. And what sucked? The only thing that sucked is that we couldn't have done it in front of fans. But since that didn't happen, I'll tell you truthfully, when I was there and we went through it, and even though there were no fans, I still got very emotional, because you get to that point where he's your best friend.
And you could see it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And he's my best friend. He's my brother in real life. And so the fact that like all the crap, all the stuff that I had gone through, and to finally just kind of be there and be like, all right, we get to do this again. We get a second chance at this. Holy cow, that's awesome. And it's just really cool. And to see it all come full circle, you don't get that very often. And I'm very blessed that I get that opportunity.
I completely agree with that. And it was crazy. Like, that was my thought. So I got to go to Revolution with one of our past guests, Megaran. He invited me out there to go do that. And like, that was the first. What'd you say?
I said, I love him. He's fantastic.
I will make sure to tell him that, because I'm actually supposed to be headed back out to Vegas with him for SummerSlam. So hopefully we'll see what we get into. But that was what I was getting at, man. Like, getting to be back around that crowd and just be around that atmosphere. And even I'll take that one further. We're going to talk about Pele Pro before I let you go. Even getting to be there, even though that last crowd, when I was there, when you wrestled Cam Cole, I mean, it wasn't a big crowd, but just the energy, man, it's just missing when there's no fans. So I hope, if anything, that it makes fans more appreciative, just that we get to see wrestling again and enjoy the shit. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like for so long during the pandemic, especially when the Wednesday Night War things going on, all you heard was, are you WWE, or are you AEW, or are you New Japan, or are you Ring of Honor? Like, can't we just, like, hot damn, like, we've got wrestling on every day of the week right now. Right. Like, I mean, seriously. Yeah. Like, enjoy it. And if you don't like one of them, here's a novel idea. You got tons of other shit to watch. Like, I mean, I feel like a lot of times people were getting so stuck up in that. So for me, I don't know about you, what it's like on the other end for you guys to be back out at shows, but for me, I'm just excited to be back around that atmosphere. Yeah. And I got to imagine it's got to be the same for you.
I'm so excited. And I think like, I'm pretty sure everyone feels the same. I don't think there's a soul a lot. You didn't get into wrestling to do empty arena wrestling. Like that's just not, you got into wrestling for like the thrill and the rush and the adrenaline. And like that's what's exciting about it. And you need that you need the crowd in order to do that. And so like, I think there's just a different mindset going into an empty arena match or, you know, just a show in front of the boys or the girls in the locker room. There's a different mindset and a different energy that you bring to each match. And when there's a crowd, there's just, I mean, we've seen the stuff people do when there's crowds. It's just like, you know, that's your lifeblood. That's your energy. And not only that, which I don't think a lot of people realize, is you structure matches different. Because when you're in front of a crowd, you're trying to elicit in a certain reaction. Right. You're trying to get them to go this way or that way or up or down or like I know people are going to hate me for this, but there's an art form to this. There is behind it. And so like when you're putting that match together or calling that match in the ring, you're basing it off of a crowd reaction. When there's no there, you're now playing to the people at home. So you're now sitting there thinking like, all right, I need to elicit this emotion from these people. But
you don't know if it really is getting that emotion because it's through the TV.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. And it's like, it's the difference between being an actor and a live performer. You know, if you're an actor for a movie, you're hoping that people will connect with this scene. When you're a live performer, you're witnessing it in real time. You're watching these people, like you're watching their emotions go up and down. You're seeing what's working. So you have to lean more towards the acting standpoint when you do the empty arena ones, as opposed to the in front of a crowd. So there's so many dynamics. I'm going on a tangent because I can talk wrestling all day long.
Hey, dude, it's all good.
I love it. I get so jazzed up about it. But yeah, man. Short answer: you can. We're excited.
Hey, I like it, dude. Well, before I get to Pele Pro and we get off of Ring of Honor, like I said, I loved seeing you come back with Taven and all that stuff. It was great to see what you guys did at the anniversary show and all that stuff too. So what's next for you in Ring of Honor? Like, what are some of your goals going forward? Are you looking to go towards the world title? Or are you and Taven going to try to get the tag straps? Like, do you have any personal goals as far as guys you want to face? You know, what's next for Mike Bennett in Ring of Honor?
All of it, everything. I'm coming for it all. And that's the truth. Like I'm at Ring of Honor to do it all. I want to, this is about legacy for me at this point. I'm 20 years in this industry, fingers crossed. I hope to wrestle well into my 40s. I love to do it as long as my body holds up. Hopefully I can pull a Jericho and wrestle into my 50s. That would be fantastic. But I'm 36 and this is about legacy. This is about where I go from here. This is about what do people say about me when I'm long gone. And I work for a company that is all about legacy. You know, I work for a company where there was Punk and Nigel and Joe and Brian and Briscoes and the Bucks. And the list just goes on of these people. Ring of Honor is the place to build a legacy. So that's what it's about for me. Where does the Kingdom lay in that legacy? Where does Mike Bennett lay in that legacy? What do people say? And so that's kind of how I look at it from this point. And so, like I said, I'm coming for it all. I'm coming for the pure title. I'm coming for the world title. I'm coming for the tag titles. It's about there's no messing around this time. I feel very much like my first run. I took stuff for granted, but I was young and stupid. Now I'm old and I've traveled and I've come back and I'm ready to. I see the field a lot differently now. I love one of the things Tom Brady used to say when he hit like 35, 36. He's like, you just see things differently. You see the field differently, but the rib is your body starts to give up. It's like
there's always a catch, man. Oh no, he froze. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, it looks like he froze out. Crap. Getting him back, ladies and gents. Just give me 1 minute. All right.
I said F it, and I went to my phone.
Hey, it's all good, brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate you making it work.
Hell yeah. I hope this works. I hope I don't sound like I'm underwater or something.
Hey, man, I can hear you. I just appreciate the time. Like I said, everybody that's watching this can see what's going on. It's all good. But like I said, so you mentioned, I've heard you mention in other interviews that you're a fan of the Pure Division and, that grappling style. So that leads me to another question. As I mentioned in our show that we cover MMA as well, are you going to be checking out the UFC this weekend?
This weekend, I'm not, because I'm actually traveling this weekend. But if I was home, I definitely would have.
Who do you got for the fights?
What's that?
Who do you got for the fights? You got Adesanya and Vittori, and then you've got Davison, Figueiredo, and Moreno are fighting again.
You know what, dude? I honestly haven't checked it out. I've been so busy with what I've been doing.
Yep.
I'm completely oblivious to this fight.
Okay.
I feel like they have it far too often too.
So that's an argument that we have all the time. See, Corey is the bigger MMA head.
Right.
Even though I'm the one of the two of us that fought, he'll literally watch every fight.
Really?
And I'm like, dude, I love it, but dude, like, I started fighting at 13. So like, I'm at the point now where I could watch every fight, but at this point, it's got to be something that pulls me in, like the card this weekend. And you got Nate Diaz is coming back this weekend too.
Really?
How did I forget that? Yeah, Nate Diaz is coming back. He's fighting Leon Edwards.
Oh, okay.
That's a tough ass fight.
Or is that the main?
No. The main event is gonna be Adesanya.
Oh, okay. I thought Nate Diaz coming back would be the big draw.
See, that's the fight everybody's saying they want to see, but I mean, with the how it goes with wrestling with the belt.
Yeah, and the champ's gotta go. Yeah, I get it.
Champ's got to get his shine, man. Come on.
I get it.
Well, before I let you get out of here, like I said, we met at Pele Pro Wrestling. You're getting ready to head back to Pele Pro Wrestling, and you're facing another past guest of the show in the young gun, Chandler Hopkins. So tell me a little bit about that match, what your experience was like at Pele Pro, and what are your thoughts on this matchup?
So this matchup kind of took an entire different direction than I thought it was going to, because he put out an interview or a promo the other day explaining what the match meant to him. And I wasn't aware. I mean, I remember now saying it, but I never put two and two together. And so when he finally said that, I went, holy cow. I remember that moment. I remember that seminar, because at that seminar, that's where I met Fuego del Sol too, who's another dude that I was like, oh yeah, you just have to get out there too. Like, I remember it, and I was like, wow. And so to see all he's done and to see all he's accomplished, and to, yeah, man, it's really cool. Like, I really dig when stuff happens like that, to know that I could have that kind of influence on somebody, because I take pride in that. I take pride in the fact that I can have a positive influence, because there's been so many times in this industry, people have a negative influence on people, or they try to hold them down, or it's one of the things I hate about this industry. I always tell people, I love wrestling. I hate the industry. Hate it, because it's lousy. It's a lousy industry. It's full of egotistical, just negativity, just crap. So to know that I can actually have been a positive influence on somebody, yeah, that's just really cool to me. So having seen that promo, I was like, oh wow, this is a really cool match, and like, I plan to bring it, man. I mean, I've been bringing it every show, but to know that I've had that kind of influence on that kid, I call him a kid, he's a grown ass man. I sound like such an old fogey. To know that I had that
young whippersnapper.
Yeah, get off my lawn before I spray you with my hose. Yeah, it's just, I'm really excited, man. He was someone that I had seen, kind of start to make a name for himself when I got released. And I saw that he had done some stuff for AEW. And then I had actually seen him at Pele Pro, because I think he was on the same show that we met at. And so
he was
just to see, I was like, oh wow, this kid's really good. And again, never put two and two together. And I was always thought to myself, it'd be really cool to get in the ring with him. And now I get to do it with that added backstory. It's pretty awesome. That's the shit I love about pro wrestling.
Hey man, that the story of it. See, that's the thing. I'm trying to play catch up for Corey and kind of like get him, to understand like the story and why that's important to the matches. Because him coming from more like he watched wrestling when we were younger, but he was never into it like I was. I mean,
Right.
we've known each other for 20 years, but
Right.
I was always the wrestling guy, So you're trying to explain like this is why this matters. Like you try to explain like why the little details make sense. And it's funny to watch as he like picks it up as we go. So with a match like that, it's cool. And he was talking about that when he saw it because he was with me when we interviewed Chandler. So like I said, it's cool like to see. That's the cool thing about this podcast is like for me, anybody that's going to take the time to, do the show or show love to us at all, man. I try to do everything I can to return the same in kind. So to see guys like him doing well and like guys like Sam Adonis, I've known Sam Adonis for the entire time we've done this show. Matter of fact, the first time I interviewed Sam, he was still in Mexico for CMLL because he was coming here to Detroit to work Ooh La La Lucha with other past guests of the show, Mysterious Bravado. So, it's cool to see guys like that, doing their thing. And the same with like what you said with Chandler. I mean, he just had one of Leo Rush's last matches.
Yeah.
For now. So, I mean, like I said, it's cool to see, man. And that's the cool part about pro wrestling, ain't it?
Yeah, no, that's what I love about it. And like, it's just, and I just love to see when somebody puts their heart and soul into something and to watch the journey. And I say this to my wife all the time, like when I've been doing the indies and I come home and I'll be talking about the show and every show, there's always someone that I'll talk about that always really stood out to me that I'm like, oh, wow. And I always say my favorite part is watching the guys that are younger or starting to come up finally put it together, finally start to understand it, and finally to get that momentum, because you can always tell when someone's on that trajectory of like, and it's just like, sometimes people are on that trajectory and they fizzle out because of they screw it up themselves. But when you get someone who's like a good kid, a kid, again, listen to me, geez, you get someone who's a good person and is talented, and then you start to see them on that trajectory, you're like, okay, this is going to be fun to watch, and I feel like with Chandler, he's one of those guys. He's one of those guys where you're like, all right, he's just starting to figure it out. And he's just on that. He's starting to hit that peak, and it's going to be cool to see where he ends up.
I completely agree with that. Like I said, we got to meet him. I went to the first 2 Pele Pro shows, so it was cool, man. I won't be able to make it down there for this one. I couldn't make it down from Detroit because I will be standing up in the wedding that weekend that is taking Corey out because we all just got back from the bachelor party up north.
Oh, God,
and let's just say, Taz always used to say, beat me if you can, survive if I let you. Well, apparently the bachelor party didn't let Corey survive.
No, we lost.
That's the best part. See, me having Crohn's disease, I don't drink as much as they do. And they always love to bust my balls. Come on, Kyle, just one time. One time I want to see you get drunk like that. But see, that's the one good part about it is I get to avoid all the other bullshit.
Silver linings, man. Silver linings.
Hey, man, you got see, Crohn's disease don't got very many of them, so you got to find them where you can find them.
Sure.
But you talked about the young guys, man. The last question I got to ask you, just because it leads into it perfectly. So we have a segment on our show. We call it Locker Room Etiquette, and it's not typical of what you would think as far as trying to get like dirt or anything like that.
Right.
But we've gotten the craziest answers that you can get. I've had everybody from Booker T to Bischoff and everything in between give their thoughts. We've had wash your balls, keep your baby mama out the locker room, bring your own wrist tape, bring your own squirt bottle. Obviously the ones that you always hear, like shaking hands and all that kind of good stuff. For you, if you were going to give advice to any young guy, now that you're back out here on the indies, whether it's watching more matches or picking different things up, if you had any of them, what would it be and why?
Wash your damn gear. No, but
you would think that would be a simple one, but I keep hearing that one reoccurring. And the worst part is it's males and females telling us that.
Yeah, it needs to be reiterated. There needs a memo, it needs to go out. Wash your gear. And something that I've kind of been telling guys and girls at my seminars lately is just be very cognizant on who you take advice from. understand who's looking out for your best interest, and then understand who's looking out for their own best interest. Understand there, because there's going to be a lot of guys and girls in this industry that will tell you things or tell you about traditions or say things to you that are specifically designed to keep you down or to hold you back. And then there'll be guys and girls in this industry that genuinely want to see you succeed, because they know that the only way for this industry to keep moving is to pay it forward constantly pay it forward. I think it was Abyss who said it at his Hall of Fame speech for TNA. He said, when you finally reach that peak of the mountain of wrestling, make sure you turn around and put your hand down and help the next guy up to the peak, because that's what you got to do. Because, you know, if we don't have each other, if we don't work with each other, if we don't trust each other, there's no show, there's no match. We need each other. So look out for those people, because there's a lot of slimy, egotistical people, but I've met some of the most wonderful humans I've ever met because of wrestling and in wrestling. So find those people, and trust me, you'll be able to see that they're very easy to find. You can tell the difference.
I was going to say I could completely concur with that. Just in the time we've been doing this show, you know, the more people you get to meet, you realize the difference between, you know, even just when we do, you know, like even just going out and talking to people, like what you said, we got to sit and shoot the shit for 20 minutes, man.
Right.
And I don't think we probably talked about wrestling until the last couple minutes of it, other than your match.
Right.
You know, so like, that's the kind of shit that I'm talking about. And like I said, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. It was a pleasure to have you. I can't wait until I can get back out there. We'll have to link up again. Maybe when Ring of Honor comes back to Dearborn, we'll have to do it again, man, because I know they'll be back here soon.
Yeah, fingers crossed, and hopefully I have better Wi-Fi at that point.
Shit, we'll send some to Michigan and we'll both be all right.
Yeah, good.
Well, until next time, and in the in-between time, if you guys haven't already done so, you see the social media down there, follow them shits, and if you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button, because you never know just who you might see here next. We've got Justin James making his return before he goes to war for the UFC on June 26th, and make sure you check out Jamal's Sweet Dreams Hill interview in the link down there before he fights this Saturday at UFC 263. Peace.